Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Smash JT. We just got some major news. Sony is not attending E3 in 2019. This is the first time in the 24-year history of the show that Sony will not be attending. And why are they not attending? They don't really give much of a reason. But if you read between the lines, they don't have any games. Smash JT. For those of you who saw my coverage for E3 2018, out of the big three, Sony was by far the worst. Nintendo had a solid Nintendo Direct presentation. Microsoft knocked it out of the park, talking about the new studios that they're bringing on and the games that they had to showcase. And Sony was really lagging behind. They didn't really show many games. The games they showed didn't look that great. And they had everyone shoved into this weird circus tent trying to talk about The Last of Us 2 and then wrangling them into the theater and having some weird awkward silence in between it. But besides all that, I think the corporate bigwigs over at Sony saw how much money that was spent on E3 2018 and what a gigantic waste it was and said, we don't have many games coming out for 2019. We don't really have anything ready to showcase at E3 at this point in time. And even though it's 8 months away right now, we're not going to have anything really at that point to show either, because we don't have any games. And the reason they don't have any games is the same reason any company doesn't have games leading up to a year of E3. Because they have a new console coming out. The PlayStation 5 is going to be announced at E3 2020. Everything is lining up for that. A big gap of no games leading up to withdrawing from E3 with being basically on top of the console race as it stands right now. And yes, the Switch is catching up quickly. The PlayStation 5 is going to be announced at E3 2020. It just makes sense. This is kind of a weird lull period where they don't really have any games they're working on because all their efforts are being focused on the PlayStation 5. There's no facts supporting that. That's just how I feel about this situation. And if you put everything together with what they're saying, it makes the most sense. Sony confirmed their absence in a statement to Variety. As the industry evolves, Sony Interactive Entertainment continues to look for inventive opportunities to engage the community. According to the statement, PlayStation fans mean the world to us, and we always want to innovate, think differently, and experiment with new ways to delight gamers. Which, okay, withdrawing from a major press event really isn't a way to excite customers, but go on. As a result, we have decided not to participate in E3 2019. We are exploring new and familiar ways to engage our community in 2019 and can't wait to share our plans with you. You would think that if they were really that excited to share plans of how they're going to announce games in 2019, they would have done that alongside withdrawing from E3 2019. To withdraw from E3 2019 and not have a backup plan announced right now, it looks a little bit fishy, to be honest. It looks like you guys don't have anything ready for the consumers. It's also the second major event that was canceled by PlayStation this year. In September, Sean Layden, the chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios, said the company would not be hosting this year's PlayStation experience, citing a lack of games to show. Well, hell, if that doesn't tell you that they don't have games ready for 2019's E3, nothing will. They're literally canceling things right now because they have nothing to talk about. Everything is being focused on the PlayStation 5. And while I'm sure there are games in development for it, they're not going to talk about them until they talk about the PlayStation 5. So, as it stands right now, there's going to be a long gap of nothing coming from Sony. That's unbelievable. I can't believe they don't even have one game they're working on to get people excited about leading up to the PlayStation 5. This is really awkward. Dare I say unprecedented. Even the Wii U, which was dying and the Switch was coming out, had Breath of the Wild to be basically the swan song for that system. And yes, Breath of the Wild came out on the Switch as well, but it initially wasn't planned for that. You'd think Sony would have a game to be the bridge between the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. This is just mind-blowing to me. Now that we have Spider-Man out the door, we're looking down in 2019 to games like Dreams and Days Gone, but we wouldn't have enough to bring people all together in some location in North America to have that event, Layden said. We don't want to set expectations really high and then not deliver on it. I wonder if a little bit of this is due to what happened in the backlash of Blizzard and having Diablo Immortal announced. I can't help but think that maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know about the timing, maybe it didn't, but honestly, that was Exhibit A on how not to run a major press conference, and I'm sure other industry leaders took note to never have a press conference unless you have something major to be announced. Otherwise, you're wasting a lot of time and you're pissing off a lot of gamers. Not to mention, the timing of this comes just 1 month after Sony CEO Kenichiro Yoshida confirmed that the successor to the PlayStation 4 is going to happen. At this point, what I can say is it's necessary to have a next generation hardware. While he declined to confirm whether or not the PlayStation console will be called the PlayStation 5, it seems like a perfect fit. So honestly, whether they call it the PlayStation 5 or make up some random name for it, a next generation console is coming from Sony. This is all basically confirmation of that without saying it's coming. It's coming. But to not have games to bridge the gap between this console and the next, it's just mind-blowing to me. And all this coming on the 5-year anniversary of the PlayStation 4 being released, it makes me wonder if Sony was too busy swimming in money from the success of the PlayStation 4 to even worry about what we're going to make going into the successor. And this is a prime location for Microsoft and Nintendo to take the wheel and be the new true successor in the video game industry. At least, that's how I'm looking at this situation. Do you feel like Sony has the PlayStation 5 coming in 2020? Or do you think that they just have another event they haven't announced and they'll come out with some games that we don't know of? I doubt it. The way Nintendo and Microsoft are lined up with the games next year, they're set to embarrass Sony. And honestly, I don't blame Sony for pulling out, because otherwise it would look like a bloodbath. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.